time to do Hearts Bay. What are we talking about? Argument. Is argument a part of normal life? Let's see this, conversation that we're being asked a question today, and we need to address that before we end Hearts Bay today. So let's find out what this viewer is asking.
Dear TV3 New Day, I have been in a relationship for almost a year now with a lady. The first 2 months of our relationship was smooth and perfect. However, after the first 2 months, no single week passes without we arguing. We argue over almost everything. I am beginning to feel this is not the right place for me. I spoke to a friend about quitting the relationship, but he said arguing is a natural part of every relationship. How true is this?
And that is the question. How true is this if arguing is part of normal relationship? Joining me in studio is Rabbi Odame Ansah. Of course, I've got Councillor Lutrot also in studio to discuss this. Let me start with you, Councillor. Is arguing a normal part of a relationship?
Well, good morning to Cherry viewers. And I want to say Cherry good morning to Mr. Abe, a chartered accountant in law, watching us this morning. You see, argument, we will always say that is normal. Because I keep saying that even the Bible says that if you don't get angry, you are sinning against God.
Which part of the Bible says that?
Oh, you don't go to church. Just do mobile money. Let me give you the scripture. Now, nothing will go for free.
No, you should. You put it out there.
So they should go and research that I said so.
Very well.
So we are sitting here.
Let's move on.
It says, be angry, but sin not. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. So being angry is not a crime.
Yeah.
Good. So in argument, usually people argue because they have divergent views. They don't understand what you're talking about. Now, based on this, we'll come back to say that, argument can be normal. However, it is left with who is arguing and who you are arguing with.
Right.
So the person you are arguing with will make argument normal or abnormal.
Okay.
Do you understand? Because if it becomes argument in relationship, you have to be very careful, because there's some argument in relationship that ends up to become red flags. And when it's red flag, watch it.
Okay.
There are people that they don't want you to say what you want to say, so they will provoke you with an argument. Okay. There are people that when they are arguing, they can't argue with their hands down, their legs down. They argue with their legs, their mouth, their stomach, every part of their body. So they argue and then they throw their hands at the same time. So argument with each other is one of the symbols of conflict. Okay. So I keep saying that argument cannot be normal because it's avoidable. So if in a relationship you're having argument, it's one of the things that broods conflicts in relationship. Right. So it cannot be normal. There is something wrong. Why the two of you cannot have a discourse in humility or in understanding? So something is wrong. Okay. Don't take it as normal. And don't also take it as spiritual. I know the pastors will say it's a spiritual attack. Okay. That one, I don't go there. It is not spiritual, because argument is human beings deciding to argue human being. Let the spirit. Some of them, the spirit have gone to buy tea, bread, and cocoa. Let them go. So don't come and say it is spiritual. Don't also say it is normal. It is a disorder in the relationship that must be worked on.
Okay. So you are saying it is present in relationships, however, it is abnormal.
It's abnormal.
Okay, very well. Let me come to you, Rabbi. What's your take on that?
Well, arguments, we can't take them out of human endeavor, right, because of opinions, you understand. And whenever argument comes about, it means that we're having different ideas, different opinions, and we are not able to come to a common ground. Right. Now, people will do things because they are convicted about what they are doing. So one will argue about what he or she is convicted about. Okay. And when that happens, you need to take your cool. Now, you can eradicate argument to a certain level in your relationship. Okay. Because when you educate your partner and you take time and you educate, and the person becomes convicted about what you are educating the person from, then it means that you have driven the person from where you are into your point of view. You understand what I mean? Okay. Now, nobody does anything in order to attain a state of being. It's because people do certain things in certain ways because they are that state of being. Okay. So the moment argument comes, then it means that you are dealing with a state of being. but a state of being can be worked on.
Right.
You understand? Now, one thing you also do is that you try not to feed the things that brings argument. So if you have been with a person for 1 year, then you should know the things that breeds argument. Stop feeding it. Now, things that are unfed eventually dies off. So you try as much as possible to notice the things that brings argument. And we're also looking at, what are you arguing about? Is it about politics? Is it about money? Is it about what to use your money for? How many children you should give birth to? The subject, the things you are arguing about also matters most. You understand? And like how Counselor said, it can be
fueled.
Yeah, it can be red flags.
Oh, right.
You understand?
Okay.
Depending on what you are arguing about. Some are very trivial. It will not necessarily affect the relationship.
Right.
But some too are very serious, and you have to take note of them.
But
You
in
see,
this
that's-
particular
that's my-
instance where
that's-
they're
that's
doing
my
it
issue.
every week.
That's my issue. It comes to a point where people think that these are the trivial issues. But for example, you go out with me, we are in a steady relationship, and you give me a standing order. When we are here to have fun, I don't want you to mention Johnny again.
Okay.
Who is Johnny? Johnny is an ex-boyfriend. Okay. So you gave me a standing order. Don't mention Johnny. Then in our conversation, Johnny comes in. Bah! Then becomes, I told you, get up, let's go, let's leave here. I say at airport runabout, a girl, very beautiful girl, was just pushed out of the front of the car by a boyfriend.
Because of an argument.
Because of an argument. And she was begging while the car was going. I asked myself, Madam, then how? Unifie. I said, "You're catching me, saying, Mammy, and I'm a born in Panadine." And I said, so after pushing you like this, I felt so humiliated for such a thing, because they've been arguing for a long time and say, get out of my car. So I'm saying that anybody who constantly argues with you, because in marriage is not equality. There is order from above, and it has to be obeyed by those who are down there. So if constantly you're arguing with somebody, it means there's no authority. That is why age is not just a number. Because when you have people who are older than you, you have some standard of respect for them. You understand? So when you marry people who are of the same age, people who are higher than you, imagine your wife is the one paying rent in the house. You should shut up in the house every day.
Not necessarily. If
No,
they're
I am
mutual-
saying it. The what is mutual? You are not
If
paying.
they have done it
No,
under
no,
mutual
no. You are not
agreement
paying
and they
light bill.
understand each
You are
other.
not paying water bill. You are not paying rent. And you have the right to even have
Anyway,
sexual intercourse.
Counselor, you let
should
me-
shut up in the house when there's argument. Yeah, the
Okay.
bunch here. Akufia Bolo.
So let me go to Johnny and let's take viewers' views on this
Sure,
discussion.
absolutely. And yes, it's okay for a couple to argue. I've been with my girlfriend for a year now. We don't argue, but I make her smile. Okay. Good morning. It's normal to argue about some little things in the home, but never argue for a long time to trigger slaps. We must understand that we come from different homes with different perspectives. So management is the key. Ernest from Kumasi Santasi. And Barbara, argument in a relationship is very important, because through argument you can find out who your partner really is. Good morning. TV3. Argument between relationships in a relationship is a natural phenomenon, but if it's getting out of hand, go with the head, the one who can't control the situation. Jonas D from Tumu. It's normal to argue, but when it happens, no, parties should come together and sort things out. I'm Kandai Malik from Bandai in the Upper West region. Samuel Dario from Sola in the Northern region says, good morning. There can't be a relationship without argument. At least you are both humans and definitely will have different views. You should be able to know most of your differences and make sure one doesn't cross the other, just to avoid unnecessary argument almost all the time. But a situation where there is argument all the time, I think one or both of you are not proving their natural colors, and I think the relationship should be nipped in the bud to avoid future unwanted occurrences. What happens if you are married? I think argument between man and woman is natural, more especially in a new relationship. This will help them to understand each other better, because it unveils the true picture of the couples. I used to argue with my lady on certain issues, which as I talk now, things have changed because of arguing. So arguing in a relationship is normal. Scorpion speaking from UDS in Tamale. Good morning to all of you. You guys are looking very good this morning. I think argument is good for couples because it helps both to express their opinions in different ways or views. I'm Yami Wisdom from Wurupong in Oti region. First of all, both should look back how the starting was. Loving her does not mean she doesn't offend you, but I just calculated all her offenses, past, present, and future, and chose to forgive and love. I tell you again, if you are in a relationship with yourself, you'll still be offended by yourself. My little word, something. My wife and I always argue, but it got to a time where we can no longer control ourselves. We even argue in a public place. However, I tried to discuss issues with her rather than argue with her, because in argument, everyone wants to win. And I think she is right, but in a discussion, both come out with the right decision. And finally, in this stretch, hello, good morning. Of course, what is being argued about is also key. I mean, 2 months into a relationship and you find out your boyfriend still has constant conversation with his ex-girlfriend, and these conversations are not in any way business or formal. Come one and just by you inquiring why, and it turns out into an argument. Yes, so arguments are inevitable in a relationship, but what happens afterwards is the most important thing, Doc.
Thank you, Johnny, for those messages coming in. But Councillor, you were laughing and passing some comments when
I mean, if your boyfriend in 2 months is discussing, still having constant communication with the ex-girlfriend, are you the one having the communication?
No.
Is it your credit?
No.
Is it your phone? You see, this is witch hunting.
But if she has an issue with you,
What-
probably she's not.
You see, that's my problem.
Safe in the relationship.
If you're not safe, go.
Right.
I have my ex-girlfriend, we keep chatting. And what we talk about,
But why are they exes if you still want to always
I
be in
decide
their
to let an
business?
ex go. It's me. That's our problem. You see, we decide to determine the parameters. Don't talk. People come and say, don't talk to this person again. Don't talk to this person again. Delete this. People even come to say, delete your Facebook account, open a new one, change your number and all these things, because they will get to you. I'm saying, the things that bring us to argue, check if the other person want to be bossy,
right, or
really it's an argument is genuine. And I hear there's this normal thing that we keep saying when we're growing, that when two people argue, it means they love themselves. Two people are always arguing in the office and say, the way the two of you are arguing, it means something is going on. How do you argue with somebody that you say you love the person? So the issue is, we should watch what we put stop on.
Right.
Don't talk to this person. Don't go to this place. So when they go and come, then it becomes argument. But I tell everybody, if argument moves to abuse, make sure that your first call is the police station.
Right.
I mean, keep that one in your head. Now people's first call have become the church, pastors and pastors' wife. I don't buy it. Your first call should be the police station.
Right.
After, report to the pastor. So, police station, the picture or something like that. You get where I'm coming from?
Yeah. Rabbi, let me find out your views on some of the messages people came in with.
Well, the same thing is what we are talking about, because we are human institution. They would have their opinions. Now, all the people who brought their views, they are coming from a certain point of view. Right. They have a certain understanding. They have had certain experiences, and that is why some of them would come up with such opinions. Right. It may be subject to correction. And that can even trigger argument, because if you're trying to correct them and they are not taking it, then argument might come. So that's what I'm saying, that it depends on the subject that you are arguing about. It also has to do with your approach, how you handle the argument. I try to argue with my actions than with words. Okay. You understand? I try as much as possible as the man of the house to lead by example, and I don't put this thing here and I come and meet it there. I won't talk. I just pick it and put it here. If I talk, it can solve the problem. If I put it here, it can also solve the problem. Right. I decide that I will argue with my actions. Very well. And it has worked, and it has reduced tension and conflict in the relationship. So it depends on what you are arguing about, the topic, and your approach. But we cannot eliminate argument.
As we talk about these things, I want to find out, just like you said, you can't eliminate. So does it mean if there's a relationship in which people are not arguing, obviously the verbal kind, then there's something wrong with that particular relationship?
Well, I can't really say that, but it is always important that some form of argument will come up for you to even know what is going on in the minds and in the heart of the person you are trying to spend the rest of your life with. Right. Because, like I said, the tree will be known by the fruits that is bearing. Your words, don't take it for granted, is an indication, is a picture of what you are thinking and who you are. So if argument keeps on coming, it tells you that this is the nature of my partner, and it's even good for you to know whether you can continue in a relationship or you cannot continue in a relationship.
Should we probably even go back to ask the question of what is then a discussion and what is an argument, because these things are all forms of communication. You see, what will lead one to think we're arguing but we are discussing, or I'm just letting my partner know my issue?
Let me tell you, tribally, there are some people that their tonation and their language, when you hear them from your window, you think they are fighting. I mean, there are some tribes that their communication is like they are having a serious quarrel.
Right.
I mean, you can hear some couple just communicating, and because of their language barrier, especially there are some languages from the northern part of the place, you don't understand, you think it's tongues. And because it's tongues, you think they are fighting. But before you hear, they will laugh in a northern style. Or you meet a guy who is happy after eating some cake, even with small fish and plenty pepper. They will laugh, and so they are, you think, so communication in its own self, there are people that their tone is high.
Right.
So people say, can you tone down? That alone starts an argument.
Right.
But if you understand this is their pitch and this is how they present, you get it. But if you ask that, is there any relation, if there's no argument in a relationship, is it a normal relationship? It's an abnormal relationship, because I have met people who come on TV or come and say, me and my wife, 29 years now, nothing has happened. Then 29 years, we are celebrating women, and you bring the woman to come and talk. You punch one hole, and she tells you the things she has decided to keep. Because when she speaks, I am for war. So I'm saying that there are times that you need to learn how to communicate. There's another arm of communication called confrontation. I mean, by the grace of God, I've written a book about it. Will come out that we all think is confrontation is not communication. And in marriage, we do more confrontation than communication. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's not normal for you not to have an argument, but it is maturity. That's why children don't marry. Marriage is not for kids. And it's having a steady relationship. I feel talking jolly every time you argue. These current girls who have come, I don't know what is wrong with them. They don't have decorum to do this thing we did some years ago. You are spoiling the game. So you use social media. They now argue on social media. Then they do snapshot and they drop. So when there's quarrel later and the relation is no more, then they start releasing it. I said this on this and snap. So we don't even know how to argue now. Now we don't even know how to argue to get any sense out of it. So if you're in a relationship and the slightest thing leads you to argument, right, there's difference between trying to have a discussion in the slightest thing. They've given you a no-go area, but you need something from the no-go area. You meet a guy, you ask him what's your full name. He says, me now I write Frank Lutrot. He says, from where? I'm from Volta region. And we are not from Volta region. Okay. So it puts a lot of question in your mind. Right. Why do you write Frank Lutrot? He's my spiritual father, so I want to write his name. He says, so who is your real father? Me, I want you to learn this from me, my darling. The way I love you, I never want you to talk about my father. I have grown out of that thing. Now this is the man that says my father. Either you take him like that, or for us to go on. And the girl too is insisting to know, if you say you are an Ewe, from which house are you coming from? Right. So when this begins to start an argument, this is a genuine concern the person is asking a question. And I will not encourage you to stop asking. If you really want to be in a relationship and you want to know, either you stop the relationship or continue asking. Right. You understand? So there are things you want results. So constantly I want results. I'll ask this question. But there are some men, there are some women. There are women who can tell you, I don't want to see this girl in my house again. And they put you in that fix. If they tell you they don't want to see you and Johnny on set again, your husband says, yes, I like you being there. If you want to continue to be on the New Day, I never want to see them pairing you and Johnny again on set. You come and tell your director, I want to have peace in my home so that I can continue working for you. Can you make Johnny never join me on set?
But just you're talking about this, let me bring Rabbi in and ask the final question in this. Could it mean, or could there be a situation where because of their personality differences, that's why arguments will arise? And if that's the situation, then we come back to the question of, isn't it possible to have a relationship where people don't argue?
It will never ever happen. There would always be, no matter how close they may be in nature, there would always be some few differences. Okay. Yeah. And you asked a question I would like to contribute. Now you said, what is the difference? Where is the line? Do we draw the line between a normal distance and an argument? An argument is where you are giving and taking and giving and taking. You can still share different ideas and minimize the argument level. Okay. You understand? Yes, if the person is sharing his or her opinion and ideas to you, you don't agree, you can decide not to immediately, respond. You can decide.
Well, that's dangerous.
It's not dangerous. Hey, it's wise.
That you have to
don't interject me. Don't interject me.
You have to deal with them physically.
Yes, but that is your opinion, and I have an opinion. So keep quiet. Let me put my opinion across.
Don't worry, Flo. I just want to get a missed call. That's why I said.
Okay. So the thing is that you can decide not to respond immediately, so that you don't destroy the environment and the relationship, you know, keep harmony. And then later on, you recall and say, you said this, and I think that I have an issue with it. You understand? So this and this and this and this and this and this and that. Or you can say, well, I think I understand where you are coming from, but what about this and this and this other options?
Right.
You know, I mean, there is a way to go about it that you will still be arguing, but that tension will not be there, and you would minimize that kind of conflict. Because winning an argument does not necessarily improve. It's not a guarantee that it will improve the relationship.
Anyway, our time is up. So, Councillor, your final words, just in a second. Otherwise, I'll catch you.
Well, unfortunately, it's a second. But I think that the other thing is that we keep telling people that give them time. There are times that when people tell you things that they are not right where they are, you who is matured, stop them from what they are saying, because if you don't stop them, they will add the next word to it. Some people must be stopped from the first. Well, my second is up. So I'm responsible for my comment on 0277 60 9644. I'm very, very responsible for my comment.
Indeed,
that if there's an argument,
and there won't be an argument here, because that discussion was just an argument in relationships. And we're asking the question whether it's normal in relationships to have arguments or not. And Rabbi Odami Ansan has shared his opinion, and Councillor Lutrot has also waded in the conversation. But Johnny, arguments are normal.
Let's start arguing now.
No. We don't want any arguments now. Do we have any comments there? Here, there's the last one.
Have comments there.
Okay.
I'm sure. This is the last one. It says Genesis chapter 16, verse 5 to 7. Then Sarah said to Abram, it's all your fault. B, I gave you my slave woman, but she has been hateful to me ever since he found out she was pregnant. You have done me wrong, and you will have to answer to the Lord for this. Abram said, all right, she is your slave, and you can do whatever you want with her. But Sarai began treating Hagar so harshly that she finally ran away. 7, Hagar stopped to rest at the spring in the desert on the road to Shur. While she was there, the angel of the Lord came to her. 8, Hagar, where have you come from and where are you going? I don't know why we're bringing this at the end of it, but anyway. But Jonathan
says there's an argument in there,
well,
so I guess.
Well, I don't know. If he gets married, he will understand.
Of our life. Ever since Sarah sacked Hagar, you never have a peace of mind. So when your husband brings a child from outside, collect the child, take care of the child. That is it.
So we'll discuss. That's not an argument. That is a result from an argument.
That's said to the maid servant.
What
you can do, what you can do, your maid servant just did it, and you are arguing with her.
Rabbi,
can you get pregnant, Sarah?
Queenism. If they bring you a baby from outside, should you take it? Rabbi, should you take the baby if they bring you a baby?
My husband's child.
Yes.
Oh, why not? If my husband respects himself enough, to respect me and handle me in a way that I'm sorry, this is what has happened out of wedlock, and I'll be grateful if you would take this child. But not when my husband comes and disrespect me and want to force the child on me, as if the woman has no rights and privileges in the marriage.
Now it won't happen.
It's not marriage.
Anyway, guys,
we're wrapping up.
Don't tell your wife. It's your family.
We're not here for an argument. We are not in a relationship.
We're not arguing about this.